Hello everyone, and welcome to another Minecraft Redstone tutorial. My name is Glitch. Today we are looking at making a hidden entrance that uses a trap chest for a trigger. Many Minecraft players will at some point decide to put some form of treasure vault in their base. And part of the fun of that kind of build is figuring out a way to hide the entrance in plain sight. When I built my original survival base, I built a hidden entrance that uses a trap chest just because I wanted to see if it could be done. Now, I've learned a lot about Redstone since then, and for my survival series, I redesigned the build to make it a little more compact. Now, the original version still works, and since it only uses repeaters, it can also be used early game. However, I do have to point out the lock mechanism will still need a comparator, so if you want to check out that version, I will leave a link in the description to the original video. I do want to mention that it is actually the first Redstone video I ever made. So please be kind and remember I was new to video production and learning a lot of the ropes of being a YouTuber at the time I made it. Now, to quickly demonstrate the build, let's just say you just came back from a mining session with a few diamonds that you'd like to tuck away. So you go to the closet, you open it up, you see two chests inside, one regular, one trap chest, and in truth, at first glance they look almost identical because of the fact that a trap chest will only have this slightly different coloration around the lock. It's a little more red than the other. But you open them up and nothing happens. Now, then, if you come over to your sword and you change its position, you hear a piston fire, but looking around the room, nothing seems to have changed. But now, if you open up the bottom chest, two pistons come out and push the chest aside, and you have access to your treasure vault where you can come in, stash your diamonds away, and come out. And then you simply open up the chest again, and the pistons push the chest back into position, keeping everything safe, and then you can simply lock it again with changing your sword's position. Now, because this build is dependent on the ability to both push and pull containers, this will be an exclusive build for the Bedrock edition. But that being said, now that we've seen the door in action, let's move over to a creative world and dive into the actual build. Now, I will be covering the supplies for the door and the lock separately. If you're just interested in the lock, there's a timestamp in the description below so you can jump ahead. For the door itself, you will need the following supplies. Roughly half a stack of structure blocks, a door of your choice, one lever, one stair, 6 slabs, one regular chest, one trap chest, 4 regular pistons, 2 sticky pistons, 2 observers, 2 redstone torches, some redstone dust, and it might be a good idea to have some form of light emitting block. I tend to use jack-o'-lanterns whenever it's something that will be hidden from view. You will also need an area that is 8 blocks wide by 7 blocks steep. This will include the wall of your base where the door is being placed, and the build itself will require you to dig 2 blocks beneath the floor level. Now, for the purposes of this tutorial, I have set up the area of the build, and I've also set up a platform to represent the wall and the floor of our base. First off, you want to choose what side your opening circuit's going to be. In this case, I'm going to put it here on the left. And then you want to place in your door with the hinges facing that direction. That way, when you open your door, the door itself will cover up the pistons and make it harder to see them if you're looking straight through the entrance. Once you have your door in place, come through your entrance, and then let's break one block out. And then on the block that your door is sitting on, place down a lever and activate it. Now, this will constantly power this block which will keep the door from slamming shut whenever you open the trap chest, because this power coming from your lever will cancel out the signal coming from your trap chest. Now let's go ahead and we're going to place down one block here, and that'll be the block for our chests. Now that we have our block in that matches the floor so that we can place in our chest soon, go ahead and take out a couple of temporary blocks, and you want to place in one on the opening side and then two on what will be the closing side. Then when you want to come up and place down two regular pistons on each side of the door. Oops, there. And then you can go ahead and remove the blocks. Now, as I said, you want the opening side to be on the same side as your lock, so we'll start there. So place down a block directly under your pistons, and then you want to place redstone dust on top of that block. Take out a redstone torch and place it on the side of the block, and then place down a sticky piston. It should activate because of the redstone torch, and then you want to go ahead and place an observer facing into that on the face of that sticky piston with its redstone output on the back. And then you want to run that observer into a block. This will form the falling edge monostable circuit that we'll use to both open and close our door. To briefly explain, a monostable circuit turns a steady redstone output, like we can get from, say, a lever, into a pulse. Now, there are many ways to create this kind of circuit. However, the one we're using today will use the observer. Now, the three main types of monostable circuits are the rising edge, which give out a signal anytime it receives an input. So when we turn the lever on, you'll see, even though this is a constant output, we get just a short burst of signal, but we do not get one when we turn it off. There's also the falling edge, which gives out a signal whenever the system is turned off. So if we activate the lever, you'll see that we don't get a flash of light on our redstone lamp, but when we turn it back on, we do get a burst of light. And then you have the dual edge, which basically is what an observer does, in the fact that you get a redstone output anytime you turn it on or off. So for this build, we're going to want to have a falling edge monostable circuit, because a trap chest, when it's opened, gives out a constant signal. As you can see, where we have, even though the chest is, we're in the inventory of the chest, we can see the redstone lamp is lit. So if we, let's go ahead and grab one of those. So if we use the falling edge, when we open up the chest, it inverts the torch because it's giving out a signal, pulling our piston back and causing the observer to pull back. And then when we close the chest, we get that short burst of signal, which we can then use to power our pistons. But first, we need to get the signal up there. So start out by placing one block directly behind your pistons, and then come down one block and place 4 blocks back, and then come down one more block so that we have one next to the block our observer's running into. And then just simply connect everything up with redstone dust. Now, if we place our trap chest in, the system is all ready to fire. Now, as far as the closing circuit, we simply need to do the entire thing just in reverse, just mirrored. So we have block down, then redstone dust, place a redstone torch, sticky piston, and then your observer. One block over, one block behind your piston, then 4 blocks back, one block down, connect everything with redstone dust, And then the entire system is ready to go again. And then all we have to do is add in our regular chest up top. And if we build a corridor back here, this would be very difficult to see because of the fact that the system is hidden by the blocks of the build itself. Now, before we add in the lock, there are a couple of things I would recommend. First off, let's move the chests out of the way. Because a slab in Bedrock is a transparent block, it would be a good idea for you to go ahead and place in some form of light emitting block within your build and then layer over it for your flooring with slabs. Now, the reason being, if this was inside a build, that would allow light to be in your passageway. However, it would also make it so that there are no particles that might be noticed by someone looking at the door. The only other thing you want to bear in mind is that you want to place either a stair or a slab block above your top chest. That way, when the entrance is closed, you still have access to your top chest. But now that we've got everything in place for the entrance, let's look at adding in the lock. For the lock, you will need the following supplies: 5 structure blocks, 3 glass, 1 item frame, 1 non-stackable item. Usually a tool or a weapon like a sword works best. 1 comparator, 2 repeaters, 1 sticky piston, and a little more redstone dust. To install the lock, come 4 blocks over from your doorway on the opening side of your build and place down an item frame on that block. I'll come around back, and you want to place a structure block down and a comparator on top of that. This way, if you have an item in your item frame, the comparator will detect it. Now, the lock itself has 2 components. First, take out your glass, place 1 on the block next to your comparator, come down 2 blocks, place 1 more glass, place in something temporary, and then place 1 more piece of glass. Go ahead and break that out. You should end up with this V shape pointing towards the back of the build. Next up, come over and run a repeater into the block underneath the piston that opens your door. And then you just want to connect the whole thing up with redstone dust. Now, if we place an item in our item frame, the comparator detects it, but right now the signal is very weak. You can see just this block of redstone, piece of redstone dust is lit up. Now, the lock works on the mechanic that a comparator will give out a different signal depending on the position of the item in the item frame. So, if we change it, you can see more and more of the redstone lights up until we reach full strength. And now, the repeater is powering this block, which in turn inverts the torch and causes the piston to retract, pulling our observer away. Now, if we open our trap chest, nothing happens because the signal coming out of the trap chest is canceled by the stronger signal coming into this block from our comparator. This does, however, leave us with the problem that if we change the position of our item, when the circuit reactivates and resets, it sends its signal back up to the piston and winds up opening the door, which kind of cancels out the whole hidden entrance. So, to overcome that, we come back down, place down 2 more structure blocks, then you want to place down a temporary block here with a sticky piston facing into the center of the build. Then place a block on its face. Come back around, place down a redstone repeater and set it to the full 4 ticks of delay, and then place down a piece of redstone dust. Now, if we change our item frame again, it extends the sticky piston, moving this block. And if you come around back, you will notice that the redstone dust looks different on each side. And the reason for that is this solid block is now cutting off this redstone line from the one on the bottom. So when we change the position of our sword in the item frame, the redstone signal is drastically weakened and cuts off the power going into this block. This part happens almost instantly. But because we have the 4 ticks of delay over here on our sticky piston, and we're talking like 4/10 of a second, but that's just enough time that when our observer goes back in and sends its signal into this block, this solid block is still cutting off the signal, meaning the signal cannot make it all the way up to the pistons, and therefore the system does not fire, but now is ready to open. And let's go ahead and close it quick. But then when we readjust the sword, it closes everything off and cuts off the power so that our system is set up and our door is locked, and it allows our whole system to be hidden in plain sight, just like the room we want to hide. Whether you want to hide your treasures in plain sight, or you're in a single-player world and just want the fun of adding in a treasure room, hidden entrances are just one of the fun aspects of Redstone that you can explore as you create and build your Minecraft worlds. I hope you find this build useful. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, and also consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. My name is Glitch, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.